Hello and welcome to Can It Run PX4. My name is Michael and this is my submission for the call for proposals of the 2021 PX4 Developer Summit. The other day I was looking for some brushless motors with propellers, preferably in a cage that I wanted to use with an old Pixhawk I had lying in my drawers when I came across this camera drone. It seemed to have exactly what I was looking for, and since the offer also included a set of 2 batteries, I really couldn't resist and had to order it. The first impression of the hardware was surprisingly good given what I had paid for it, but the software on the other hand seemed to be quite buggy, something that was also suggested by the comments I found about the drone. So without much hesitation, I started taking the drone apart, only to find myself with this. Well, that's a lot of modules for an inexpensive selfie drone, isn't it? And as it turned out, the cages not only contained the motors and the propeller I was looking for, but also a dual ESC. So all I had to do was to add some power and a pulse width modulated signal, and my new design would have been good to go. Would have. Long story short, the ESC got destroyed during one of the first tests, and since there weren't any spare parts around, it was cheaper and probably much easier to just order another drone. In the meantime, while I was waiting for the second drone to arrive, I took a closer look at the new hardware I had now lying on my desk. So besides the cages with the motors and the propellers, there was the flight management unit, also known as the Autopilot, a power distribution board, a GPS module, an optical flow sensor, an ultrasound distance sensor, and on the back of the Autopilot there was an additional module with the IMU. There was an IC that turned out to be a barometric pressure sensor, an additional module with a magnetic compass. The Wi-Fi module came with 2 external antennas, and since it's a selfie drone, it also has a camera, of course. There was the advertised set of 2 batteries, a DC power supply, a charger, a nice transportation case, a fancy box, and the only thing in the whole package that turned out to be rather useless for me was the power cord, since the UK plug doesn't fit to the German sockets. But still, it's quite some package, given that I ordered it only for the motors and the propellers, right? But let's have a closer look at the Autopilot, shall we? Now, the brains of the Autopilot is based on a STM32F405, but the board also has this 4-pin footprint. And if you look a bit harder, you can see 2 traces running towards the MCU. And as you are probably already guessing, they are connected to the serial wire debug interface. When I hooked it up to my debugger, I found the flash memory was protected, but only to level 1, which means reading the content was not an option, but writing new firmware to it was still possible. So if you'd like to learn more about my adventure of reverse engineering the Autopilot and porting PX4 to it, or how Laurent from Auterion put it,
how our software is making great products like this drone even more exciting.
You can check out my blog via the link in the comments below, and provided my submission gets accepted, we might even meet at the virtual PX4 Developer Summit, which is scheduled for the 14th and 15th of September, and where the wonderful hearts and minds behind the PX4 ecosystem will be gathering to share their knowledge and experience with you. Until then, develop responsibly, stay curious, and don't forget to git push before flight.